Hey, insiders. Have you ever wondered what artist services are and how they can work for you in your music career? Well, if you have, then you don't want to miss this episode with Bryan Cosgrove, formerly from The Orchard and now Director of Music Licensing for TikTok. We discuss what artist services The Orchard offers, music placement strategies, and much, much more. Right now.
This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
I managed to catch up with Bryan Cosgrove of The Orchard. Bryan, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course,
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You know, I always like to ask my guests, was there a point that you consciously remember in your life when you made a decision that the music business, the music industry, was going to be your professional career path?
You know, I think I got out of college and I was very ingrained in music anyway. And it was actually a chance meeting that I had with a high school buddy of mine in Washington, D.C. And he turned out to be working for a booking agency that was affiliated with a record label. And I was looking for an internship and I managed to get in and work with them for a while. And from there, you know, my career just kind of kept progressing along those lines where I would find something that I was interested in and try to get a better hold on it. You know, for a while I was working with independent record labels. Then I was working with independent film houses, was cutting some music videos, doing some music supervision here and there. And it all was kind of culminating towards making this like a real career choice for me. You know, I've always loved music, and now working in the industry has presented, you know, a ton of challenges, but it's a different day every day I go into the office, even though we do have some long-term projects from time to time for the most part, especially in sync licensing. Every day is something new. It's a batch of new projects. Some days it's 8 to 10 new projects, but it's fun. It's fast paced. And we're really experiencing a lot of change in the industry. And so being able to navigate that change and to see all of it happening at once has been, it's something that I rediscover that I love every day. You know,
it's interesting listening to you because as I'm listening to you, I'm realizing you're kind of at the forefront of following that change in that your company is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the largest distributor of music digitally in the world. Is that correct?
We are.
Okay.
We are. You know, it's interesting to see how that's taking shape too. You know, I joined The Orchard. I was actually working for our YouTube department, which has grown from about, 6 people to probably 25 in the last 2 years. Because YouTube has become such an integral part of the industry and how music is put out into the world, but also how music is monetized and how people can make money on it. But, you know, YouTube is just one small part of what The Orchard does. And we're growing all the time. We've got offices in 28 cities around the world. As our catalog expands, so does our understanding of the music industry in all of these different places where we are. So the change that's happening around the world, we really have a great perspective on not only how it happens here in the United States, but what's going on in the UK, bands to watch, the ways that people are, you know, changing the way that they do business. A couple of years ago, an online usage for a sync meant something completely different than it does now because we have Apple TV and Roku boxes and YouTube videos that can be monetized. So there is a lot changing there, and having so much music means that we really are responsible for being on top of those changes and to help pioneer them ourselves.
You know, I'm curious, for a company like The Orchard, can you talk to our audience about the services that they provide their artists? I mean, what exactly does The Orchard provide to the acts who have music that may want to be joining you?
Sure. Primarily, we're a digital distribution company. We, help people get their music on iTunes, Spotify, Beatport, whatever means that you want your music distributed or to reach people, we help the music get there. But in addition to that, we also offer compilations, interlabel compilations. So, we could recently we did one that was like workout songs, but it wasn't just workout, it was army chants. So that's been a big seller for us. And we've been able to pick and choose from a number of different labels to put that together. So that's something that we offer. We also have interactive marketing and retail marketing. We've got sync licensing, and we've recently gotten into film distribution as well. Putting out our first feature films over the last couple of years, documentaries. We're getting into the horror game right now, which is great and very timely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about with The Orchard is that for a company that has that much music, in terms of your position, where do you even begin in that job of becoming familiar with what is available to you when the mandate comes to you from an ad agency or a film company or a TV supervisor?
Right.
How does that work?
So I work on a team with 4 other people, and I could not do my job without them. We have 2 guys named Blake and Matt. They've been with the company for a very long time, and they do a lot of our ingestion into our internal systems where they tag the music with different listening notes. But they're also very involved in, writing the blurbs that might go out, a modern day version of liner notes, and doing a lot with our retail marketing teams to help them to keep them armed with information to take to our different vendors. But they're very good about that. And then we've also got a person who works very hard with our labels to make sure that they're sending her information about upcoming releases, telling her, we have this record that's coming out next month. Here's 2 tracks that are on that record that we really like and that we think could be great for X brand or this TV show or whatever. So it's really a team effort. I couldn't present music to ad agencies or film studios without this collective wealth of knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you talk about the different brands or the different kinds of films. You had talked before about the distinction and how a sync placement on a website meant something totally different a few years back than it does today.
Right.
So I'm curious from your perspective because you're on the front lines of this. Television has been the big area of growth over the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are the areas of growth that you're seeing today in terms of music licensing that are going to be up and coming?
Well, it's interesting because the broadcast model is definitely going through a little bit of a rocky time right now. You have HBO, which just recently announced that they're going to have a separate from cable package that you can subscribe to. CBS is doing it also. So there's been a lot of changes, but I'm really anxious to see what's coming from these major networks after more of them start to pull away from the strictly broadcast model. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with Apple with their Apple TV. You have Amazon that's doing their Fire TV. Roku, of course, has been around for a while. But then you also, you have Netflix who's getting into making their own content, and they're still holding strong to not having advertising on it. You have Amazon that's doing their own content. So it's all changing a lot right now in the realm of who's putting out the content, and moreover, where that content lives. Does it only live on an app? Does it live online? Does it live both online and on television? So, contracts, licenses are getting a little bit more complex, but it's all very exciting because we've been living with the broadcast model long before I was in the industry, and now everything's really starting to change a lot. So it'll be, interesting it's going to start happening quickly too, I think. We've seen a lot happen in the last year and a half, 2 years, and I think over the next 5, it's going to be a whole different ballgame.
When I look at something like The Orchard and how you've been explaining it on a worldwide basis, what would be the best pieces of advice you could give to our audience or to our members who want to get involved with The Orchard? Is there something they need to have? Do they need to have finished albums or just a song? Or
yeah, we like to work with artists. We like to work with labels. Typically, we're working with record labels. We like to look for social network. See how far your reach is. We do work a lot with our artists once they come into the Orchard on a sync level. Right now, it's huge to have covers. There's actually a talk tomorrow about the importance of having covers. But getting in touch with us is as easy as looking us up online. We're excited to work with anybody who has an original take on music or just, a good outlook on the music industry, people who are responsive, people who have, for my personal standpoint, people who have their stems and their lyrics and everything for us. But it's an industry right now where there's a lot going on and there's a lot of people making music. And what really makes you stand out is when you have everything put together.
It's interesting in listening to you say that, because you're the first person that's talked about the specific. You mentioned stems. Can you talk about what you actually need from a client in terms of getting involved with the Orchard's sync department? I mean, you mentioned stems.
Yeah.
What else is needed?
I mean, stems, lyrics, acapellas. But right now, what we're running into more and more is exact publishing information, writers. I mean, sync licensing's funny because, people never know they need to sync something until 5 minutes before they actually need it. So when we need to turn something around and we need to do it quickly, we can't always be chasing people down looking for writers and then writer splits, publishing companies or whatever. And if we have that information up front, we're way more likely to include your track in a pitch, or even to include your catalog more often, because we know that you've got that stuff on file. We know that you've come through for us in the past. But it's having all of that as a package. And every time you deliver us something, being able to tell us, like, this is the publishing on this, put it in a folder somewhere, like just send us a one sheet, we'll put it in a folder somewhere, and then we can just access that whenever we need it.
So is the Orchard a one-stop sync and master?
Not always.
Not always? Okay.
It can be. There are many labels that we distribute that control their own publishing, or artists that control their own publishing. And in those cases, we can one-stop things. But for the most part, we try to have a great relationship with many publishers, so that if something comes down the line and it's going to have a second license that needs to go out to a third-party publisher, we can contact them, and we try to keep those relationships strong so that we can call them and say, "Hey, is this cool with you? This just came through to us. We can send the client to you and make this easy." And at that point, it's not a one-stop, but we like to think that it's quick and it's easy and as painless as we can possibly make it.
Okay. Do you remember when you got into your professional life, were there any specific books or movies that you found over the years to be particularly inspirational to you?
Books or movies?
Yeah. Professionally speaking, that you found really inspirational?
Yeah. I mean, I come from kind of a musical background, so I always like to see movies or read books that are kind of tap into that. Right now, I'm in the middle of one at the recommendation of my boss, called "Love Goes to Buildings on Fire." It's about the New York music scene in the mid-'70s, as New York was trying to rediscover its identity after the '60s and the Velvet Underground breakup and everything else. So that's actually been a really good one, because living in New York, you kind of walk around and you see all these places that no longer exist. CBGB's is like a clothing store now or something. So you walk around and you see these places. It's like, wow, this is really where it was all happening. And there was so much going on. And you kind of get the impression that people were working super, super hard to make themselves stand out and to like find their culture. And I love that. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I recently saw the Muscle Shoals documentary. I mean, I loved that. And then, I mean, purely from like a musical standpoint, just listening to that rhythm section was really incredible.
It's definitely.
But
as incredible record.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was one after the other down there, right? But, as far as a professional, from a professional standpoint, I've kind of just gone with the flow to a point where it wasn't like I read anything and I thought to myself, like, I need to be involved in this. I like to read a lot of interviews now. I like to read a lot of magazines, as many, of the websites that I can, to get a better idea of what's going on, and to see what different influencers and trendsetters are what they're looking for. I think recently what's been really cool is how many people have utilized Spotify. From music supervisors to companies like my own are starting to say, moody and gloomy. This is what feels moody and gloomy to me. And those people can find each other through social media like that, which didn't exist a couple years ago.
Some really great information from Bryan, especially for those of you looking for alternative distribution sources for your music. So, insiders, question of the day. What were the most educational aspects of our discussion with Bryan? Was it the services that the Orchard offers artists and bands? Or was it the placement strategies they use in getting their clients' music into film and television? Or maybe it was something else that connected with you. If you have any ideas or experiences that you'd like to share regarding this video, we'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the YouTube description as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below. And we'll see you in the next video.